We can get to it. We can try to keep it 30 minutes real this time. I'll
Yeah,
I'll
yeah, yeah.
I'll
We can. I
I
think we
will
can do it.
channel my inner rant.
Right. And I think on this, we can just go like back and forth. Like, there's no
Yeah.
reason to like. I don't need to. If you catch me in a soliloquy, like, don't be afraid to like interrupt and just like interject with an opinion, or just get more back and forth with it. So it's not like you listen to me lecture for a minute, I listen to you lecture for a minute. Like, just get a little bit more back and forth.
Hmm.
Going with it. All right, so let's get us started. Welcome to an all-new episode of the No Rules Podcast. I'm Aaron Hilton, as always, joined by my main man, my brother in arms, my fellow HBCU graduate, Malik Smith.
My guy, how you doing, man? How you feeling?
A lot worse than I was yesterday. We had talked about it previously offline. It was like yesterday when we recorded this, we had some technical difficulty initially recording this, so we just felt like we had too much to say to not at least get it off our chest. So we came back today and said it. And honestly, like you said earlier, you brought it up. It's like, I don't know if I feel much better than I did yesterday.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, shout out to the government. I think the government trying to shut my computer down because
That's a
literally,
fact, bro.
I mean,
It was
literally 5 minutes after us recording it, we were just kind of talking, and it just shut off right in the middle before
yeah.
the recording could save.
It
They're
was
not
it
gonna
was the
get this
feds. It was the feds, or it was Fatty Fedora. One of the two.
one of the two, right?
Hacks or
Yeah,
shit. Yeah,
one
but
of the two.
nah. So I mean, obviously, with everything that's going on, um, initially we are primarily a sports podcast, but we are Black Men First. And so this pod, like you said, is no intro, is no outro, it's not a whole bunch of bells and whistles. We're just giving you our raw emotions, how we feel. So that's what you're getting today, and then we'll get back into the sports on our next show. But for this one, Malik, like, obviously the elephant in the room is with these protests and everything going on after the murder of George Floyd, the murder of Breonna Taylor, the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, and that's just three of the 493 names that have been put on the ledger by United States police force over the last 10 or so years. So just talk a little bit about, for you, what seeing some of these protests and demonstrations have meant for you and what it's invoked in you, seeing this kind of emotion out in the streets.
Man, it's crazy. You know, I told you yesterday, and I mean I say it again. I'm appreciative to my boss who reached out to me to see how I was doing and check in and let me know if I needed time to kind of process all this, and if there was a point where I felt like you know reading or editing or writing something about the UFC or soccer or whatever few sports we have going on right now is just like pointless. He was
Right.
more than willing to uh, for me to hit him up and just say like, hey, I need some time. So I appreciated that, and I think just in general seeing um, this powder keg that we've kind of walked into here with where we are
Mm.
in our country. It's frustrating, man. We live with this type of um, bubbling rage. I feel like inside of us every day as Black people because we get these microaggressions or sometimes these very openly racist comments from people. This separate treatment. Even though we were born in this country, we're just as American as anybody else who comes to this country from another place, or whether they were born in this country too and they may be white. This is our country just as much as it's anybody else's country, right? We don't claim that it's ours alone, but we do claim to be
Right.
just
We
as
are,
American
we're
as anyone
African
else.
Americans. American is in the name. We are African Americans. There we have descent, just like, somebody named O'Grady is Irish American, or someone named, I don't know, Capriccio is Italian American. Like, we are African Americans. And, like you said, this country was built on the backs of our ancestors and
Absolutely.
of, the people that looked like us, that came before us, that had even less rights than we do. And I think the problem is that I'm seeing personally is with all that's been going on with what is supposed to be a better society and with more knowledge to what you're doing is wrong. Like, back in the day, niggas thought that starting to procreate, with someone who's like 13 to 16 was a good idea. You know, there were times when that was like a passable idea. You know, now we know better than that. Life expectancy has gone longer for everyone other than people that look like us. And it's just kind of sad to see how far some things have come, and for us to still have to deal with issues like this and to still have to explain ourselves when the evidence
Right.
is right in your face.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard to swallow.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm I don't fuck with white people right now, personally.
As a fact.
And it's funny. I said this to our boy Nigel. I said, the people who, if I said that to somebody, I'm not gonna
Mm,
apologize to anybody, even if I'm cool with you and I'm friends with you and I know you, because
mm,
if that statement offends you, then you're the person I'm talking to. And if it
right.
doesn't offend you, then you know that I'm saying that to the people that that statement is directed exactly towards. Um, and
Mm,
and and it's true, man. Like people just don't understand what it's like to be black in this country on a daily basis and have to deal with the type of shit that we have to deal with. And when we see people like George Floyd, who get a knee in the back of their neck and killed for a $20 bill, um, allegedly, right? A counterfeit $20 bill in the middle of a pandemic. God
right.
forbid somebody tried to just get on with their life by handing off a fake $20 bill, if it even was a fake
Mhm,
$20 bill, if he even knew it was a fake $20 bill, right?
right.
Um, that type of thing escalates into a man getting killed, and not just killed, but I mean his life literally being suffocated out of him by the hands of four police officers who could give two shits about him and his life. So yeah, it's really frustrating when we see that, and when we take to the streets and we say that Black Lives Matter, it's because we're absolutely tired of being treated differently just because we're black. And for people who don't want to hear it and people who don't believe that it's true, we will gladly change places with you for a day so you can feel what it's like. You know
Yeah,
what I
I
mean?
mean,
Like we will
and
absolutely
honestly,
change
it's
places.
and you know, like it's like you said, is and just for that, because like I said, even through all this, I still love being black. But it's really just to
Absolutely.
prove a
I
point.
just want
It's
you.
still
I just want
right. It's
somebody to.
for
Yeah, you
right.
wouldn't sign
Where
up.
am
You
I?
wouldn't sign up for this shit. You wouldn't sign up
You
for
wouldn't
getting
sign
beat
up.
in the middle of the street from
And
police.
honestly, you're not thorough enough to handle it. And that's
Exactly.
just real. That goes honestly for white allies and the enemies. And it's no offense to the people that are allied with us. We do need your support. We do need your help, and we do appreciate everything that you're doing for us. But yeah, like Malik said, right now we're just not really fucking with y'all. Like there's a part of me that's always a little reticent when I see um the white allies at rallies or doing things like what you're supposed to be doing. Like you're supposed to speak up against any injustice that you see, not just when you can't go and get your fake braids in, or when you can't go get your nails done, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, or you can't go get some crab legs at Red Lobster or some shit. Like, it's good to see that some of y'all are out here on the streets and pounding the pavement. That's all fine and dandy, but some of y'all not doing it the right way, and some of y'all, to be honest, and this is what's really escalated things for me, in terms of my frustration, is some of y'all are just taking advantage of the moment, and you're giving the media and the police officers and everyone who's been against us more cannon fodder and more ammunition to use against us, literally and figuratively, um for the future. Like saying, like, look at all these damages, look at all this looting, and like, yo, half this shit is like when someone is covered head to toe in all black shit and all you can see is their eyes, like, you don't know who that is. That could be anybody looting and messing up stores or burning shit down. And a lot of the times, shout out to the mayor of Seattle, her name escaped me off the top of my head, but she tweeted out even like a lot of these looters and things like that are white men. That just is what it is. A lot of these people that's inciting and handing people brass on video of a car, literally a car full of white women with, bricks that they were trying to hand out to looters and protesters to help incite more damage and more,
So we
you
could
know,
fucking get arrested for it.
exactly. And you see what happens even when we don't. There's a black woman that got shot in the head by a rubber bullet. Like, I don't know what y'all think this is, but this isn't laser tag. My nigga, a rubber bullet coming out at you with the same force as a regular bullet can still kill you. And not, if not kill you, at least do irreparable damage, as it seems to have done to this lady. Like, you can't tell me that just because they fire rubber pellets at you that this is not something serious. They're going through using cars as battering rams. spraying people with mace. I saw a video of one guy who was driving with his pregnant girlfriend, and they shooting his car with tear gas. Look, that's damage that's, you know, to a future generation of an unborn kid right there. Like, you
Right.
don't know what that's going to do to that child. I
There,
can't even believe that's allowed to go free.
yeah. On top, I mean, there was also, I mean, we've seen tons of videos, and that's part of the reason why I say I'm more angry today than I was yesterday, because I mean, I was still looking at a lot of these same videos, but it was just really difficult to it just makes me angry, man. It just makes me angry to my core. You know, the video of the couple in their car in Atlanta, um, driving down the street. I believe they were just trying to get it. They were just trying to get out of
Mm-hmm.
the protest area, and the police came and opened their car and pulled the woman out. Hit the dude with the stun gun, pulled him out. I believe
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms
Yep,
fired
she fired them both
the
that night.
officers who did it. But it's
That
like,
night, yeah.
you know,
Charges.
what's not being understood here is that, you know, people thought that this protest was just about, and I think that's why people think this is just going to end tomorrow, or
Right.
was going to end, you know, 4 days ago. Was that, oh well, if we just arrest these officers, they didn't even arrest all of them, but if we arrest one of the
Right.
officers, the one who's on video, then people will see that as justice. It's like, no, justice comes when, if you beat the shit out of me in the middle of the street,
Mm-hmm.
and you only doing it because you got a badge and a gun and a billy club,
Right.
you know, justice comes when you go to jail for that just as much as
Right.
I would go to jail if I did that to you, because it's not equal. And I understand people who think that like the police are there to protect them, but they have not been protecting us. They have been the ones who have been inducing harm on so many people in our community for no reason. Now, if I run at you with a gun, obviously I would expect you to shoot me, right?
Right.
I mean, that kind of goes without saying. I'm standing here with my hands up, and you're pushing me down on the street, and then when I get down, you're beating me while I'm on the street. I mean, I mean, the scenes are coming straight out of a video clip from the 1960s, and that's what's really frustrating, is that, you know, we keep seeing the same thing happen over and over to generation and generation. I don't know if you saw the video of the young man. I mean, it's gone viral, and everybody's talked
Mm-hmm.
about it, but there's a video of a 45-year-old man, a 31-year-old man, and a 16-year-old
And a
boy,
16-year-old, yeah.
and they're
Mm-hmm.
all having a conversation, a very heated conversation
Mm-hmm.
about how tired they are and what the right way is. And I mean, people have drawn different things from the video about how it's inspiring, and some people say it's, you know, it's just really unfortunate. And to
Mm-hmm.
me, it's a sign that this hits all of us. Like, you can't
Right.
say that not one Black person does not feel the weight of the injustices that this country has brought on us. We all feel it, right? We all feel it. And so,
Right.
so you like, don't tell me how to fucking protest, right? I'm not,
Right.
and as much
Exactly.
as we both don't necessarily agree with people looting shit, I don't give a fuck if Gucci gets all their shit taken. And I could care
Right.
less, to be
Care
totally honest
less,
with you.
because it's
I could care
it's
less.
lives at stake. And honestly, to say, like we had talked about previously, and I guess, you know, we're talking about again, is like, you can't tell someone how to hurt just because that's not how I would necessarily deal with it. And I'm not going to be over here like cheering looters on, or doing anything like that, but I'm not renouncing them or denouncing them either, because I deal with certain problems that I've had differently than maybe other people do. And I don't want anybody judging me for how I deal with my problems. Like, listen, every action has a reaction. And
Exactly.
sometimes that reaction isn't equal or opposite. Sometimes that reaction has been something that's been pent up for a while, and it just burst to the surface. You broke that dam.
And here's the
Um,
thing. Here's the thing. Not to cut you off, but
no, you good.
the really interesting thing here is, and this has been said obviously, right, in regards to Colin Kaepernick, but, you know, I've kind of gone back and forth, and I was saying this to you yesterday. I've gone back and forth about what we're supposed to do and how this is supposed to work. The thing about the thing that's really interesting about this is that we've been peaceful for a really long time, and there's been spouts and you know, little areas where people have kind of risen up, and things got a little crazy. But for the most part, you can say Black people have been pretty peacefully saying, like, hey, could you just not be racist? Like, could you please not be racist, right? And now it's like, look, maybe y'all need the option of violence to choose peace, because when we give you just peace as just the one option, like, hey man, we just want to be treated like everybody else. Y'all spit in our faces, y'all tell us like no, and why we don't deserve it, and how black people and are lazy and all this other shit, right? Y'all give us all this
Yeah.
racism. So then when we start turning the fuck up, then it's like, oh well, why can't you do it peacefully? It's like, we've been doing it peacefully. So if you really want peace,
Mm-hmm.
let's go to the negotiation table and get peace. But until then, we're gonna turn the fuck up. And I think
Right.
that's what
And
people aren't understanding about where the energy is coming from with a lot of the anger. And like I
and
said,
look,
I'm not
that
saying
that
that I want people
is.
to break windows and do all that shit, but hey,
But look, listen, that's the way that Americans and things like that have been showing passion for years, dating back to things like the Boston Tea Party and shit like that. It's just nothing new, especially here in America. Like, that's nothing new. People was flipping cars over on Lansdowne Street in 2004 when the Red Sox won their first World Series since 1918. I love the Red Sox. I wasn't out there looting. I wasn't out there, burning shit down, fucking shit up on the streets the same way that I'm not doing stuff now, but I couldn't tell those people how to celebrate, and I really can't tell my people, our people, how to deal with their pain. And furthermore,
and
like when yeah,
they turn up for a college basketball win. You know what I'm saying? I be
everything,
seeing burnt couches for
storming
that.
courts,
So I don't want to
people
hear
getting
shit.
trampled. Like y'all was really out here with a full militia because you couldn't get a full set done and you couldn't get your pussy waxed. Like, that shit is crazy to me. I can't
Couldn't get
believe
a
that
haircut.
y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, this shit is like, don't act, you couldn't go to a sports bar. So you showing up downtown with guns strapped to your arms and stuff like that. A white person is arrested for being at a public park when y'all are on quarantine and y'all are starting to question the law then, but you can't question the law when literally there are officers, upholders of the law, that are violating the very rules that they're there to uphold. And the thing is, I don't want these officers to go to jail because we want justice for George Floyd, because that's not enough. That doesn't solve the problem. That's a band-aid on a gash. That ain't even stitches. That's a putting a band-aid on a gash. Like, this is a systemic problem. And if we keep trying to look for A to B results, then I just don't see how this systemic issue is going to be fixed for future generations. Like, for me, I need for there to be a set guideline where there are consequences, there are checks and balances, not when it, like, I don't want it to get here. It's already gotten here. I don't want it to have to keep getting here and keep coming to a head. I want when an officer pulls over a black man or any person and is questioning them to the ninth degree and is getting rough and rowdy with them, and then they're proved wrong, I want them on administrative leave then. If you are if you break down the door to a house and you enter into the wrong home and you're in there guns blazing and scaring kids, I want you to lose your job then. I want you up on charges then. If you are out there, trying to quote unquote quell the protests and the whatever it is, and you're using excessive force and things like that, not only do I want you to lose your job, but for those officers, I want you to be up on assault charges. Because if you're not doing your job, if you're violating your job's requirements to the point where you've gotten fired for it, then that's not you upholding the law, because you wouldn't have lost your job. That is you assaulting. That is assault. So because you got fired, now let's talk about the crime. Because if I had a tasers are readily available for civilians too. If I would have done that exact same thing to another civilian, pulled them out of a car, tased them, or worse, shot somebody in the head with a rubber bullet, that's assault. So that's what I need from them. That is assault. Adjust, act accordingly.
Right. And I
This
mean,
is something that needs to be changed from the inside, in like with the infrastructure. It can't
right.
just be get justice for these four guys and then we good. Like, no, that's not enough. I
Man,
need this issue shit. I need this shit changed. I need that in legislation.
absolutely. And that's really the thing, right? It's about accountability. It's 100% about accountability. If I have to follow a certain set of rules, why is it that nobody else has to follow those rules? And that's it's not just the police that don't got to follow the rules, right? It's any white person who thinks that the police work for them but not for me can call the police on me and say, hey, this man is attacking me in Central Park, or
Right.
this black woman won't leave me alone, she's attacking my children, or I'm just going to chase after you and shoot you because I have the right to stop you and frisk you and do whatever I want because I'm a white person, right? Like, white people think that they are deputized as the police, because that's the way that this country has allowed them to feel, right? They make them feel like the police is there for them and not for us, because we're the criminals even if we don't do anything, right? But to your point, it absolutely is it's an institutional change that needs to happen. It needs to be institutional accountability, and that can't happen if the police force is pulling in $6 billion a year in New York. NYPD got a $6 billion budget with a B, right? Like who the who the fuck is reining them in? How the fuck do they get $6
Like,
billion
wait,
dollars?
how are y'all coming down on Americans with tanks because of these protests? But
Yeah,
y'all showing more force for this. Like, police officers, y'all should be offended by this. Y'all should be offended when you see someone on camera violating another citizen like that. Like, I don't care if it's a black dude, white dude, Hispanic, or whatever. But it has almost always been a black dude, like man or woman. It almost has always been that. That's not an accident. And for police people, to continue to enter into this police force, knowing what they know, the stigma about police, and for still nothing to change, that means that the system is broken and it needs to be fixed. That woman that you had alluded to, Amy Cooper, weaponized police brutality for her own benefit. That is the point that we have gotten to in this country, not where it's just, someone sees a crime and is reporting a crime, like, what was her name? Barbecue Karen or whatever it was, the girl from a couple years ago who called.
Yeah, reporting a quote unquote crime.
An unsanctioned barbecue or whatever it was. This is
this is an unsanctioned barbecue.
It's like they seasoned their chicken way too much. I even saw one of them
way
washing
too spicy over here. I can feel the spices over here right now.
They're putting barbecue sauce on before and after they take the ribs.
How much flavor do you need?
So it's gone from shit like that to a woman like Amy Cooper literally weaponizing not just her whiteness, but weaponizing an institution that's supposed to be there to protect citizens. That's a problem. When you have people that know that they can do that, I don't know how any police chief, I don't know how any superintendent of any state, city, whatever it is, can possibly look at that and be okay with it anywhere. Like, even if it wasn't in your city where that happened, this is not it didn't happen. No, fuck that, because these are people, like, that's just the one that's caught on screen. So you have to do something as people in those positions of power. This is where we need those people who have those positions of power to make these changes, because it can't necessarily come from us. But another thing that we had discussed before that I do want to make sure that we got on here again, the black people that's attacking black people online for how they go about trying to institute change or how they are hurting. Please, I'm imploring you, this is not a time to disseminate amongst our own ranks. This is not a time to divide amongst skin tone or creed or where you were raised or who's this and who's that. It's like, listen, if there's anybody that needs to have our back, it is the people that come from where we come from, that look like we look, except for Fatty Fedora. Fuck him forever. But other than him, like everybody else, like, we need y'all. Like, I understand. And if someone is saying something foolish, like when LL said the thing about, I wonder what parents are thinking who are raising biracial children, what conversations they're having. Like, LL's not your enemy. LL Cool J, been about blackness for years. This is not your enemy. This is not a time to, alienate these people using those Twitter fingers. Like, social media is a tool for separation, and you're doing nothing but helping the white patriarchy by doing things like that. So please find a way to unify.
I think it's a really good point you made too, and I think people forget, right? Like, history is a motherfucker, man. Like people really look at history and just see whatever somebody told them. Like this whole idea that Martin Luther King was like super peaceful and like everybody loved him and all of this is bullshit, right? Like, people hated Martin Luther King and thought that he was a shit starter, and there were black people that thought, hey, maybe this is the wrong way to do it. And he wasn't even trying to be like, he wasn't even talking, he wasn't on some like, yo, we running up and you know what I'm saying, run up and get done up. Like he was like, hey, we're just gonna go into these places that we know are racist, and we're gonna force them to change their minds and engage with us. And people thought like, hey, that's not the right way to do it. So
Right. And
if
by the
somebody
way,
could think that
you don't assassinate someone you love. Like I'm
exactly,
sorry, but
exactly,
this is
exactly.
revisionist history.
Also,
He was assassinated in
yeah,
his fucking like 30s, bro. Like this is
white
not somebody.
people, I need y'all to stop trying to trying to fucking white splain Martin Luther King to his children. Okay, don't be in
Yeah.
Bernie King's comments. Don't be in Martin Luther King the third's comments trying to fucking white splain their father to them because you don't know him. They do. But to my point, um, people didn't like what he was doing. So if we just did everything the way people decided was okay, people didn't like what Cap was doing either, right? Like, but it was peaceful. People didn't like what Dr. King was doing, and it was peaceful. So Black people, we don't need to criticize each other just because we don't necessarily like something. And if we're going to criticize each other, shoot a DM, right? Like we don't need to make a whole hashtag about somebody just because we don't like what they're doing, even if I won't even throw any. I won't throw any even ifs in there. Let's just not
Right.
criticize each other, right? Like at this
Right.
point, I don't think it's helpful. You can disagree with someone. You can reasonably disagree with people. I just don't feel like right now is a good time to argue because I think we can definitely spend our energy just trying to come together and really unify around a central message. One of the things that we talked about yesterday was, I mentioned that the, I think for us, we need to figure out what our goal is. And we talked about Black people not being a monolith, but I think at least a majority of the Black community can figure out, hey, these are things that we absolutely do want. These are things that we absolutely do not want. And these are the things that we are going to focus on and that we're going to say, look, I'm not going to argue with you about this and that because I know that at the end of the day, this is the goal. It's really hard to do that, obviously,
Right.
because we don't all live in the same communities. And social media, one of the things that kind of brings us together is also a really easy tool to drive us apart. At the same time, I think it is imperative for us to really rally around that kind of thinking because that's the only way that we can get something long lasting to come from all of the energy that we're seeing right now. And Stephen Jackson recently, I want to say a few hours ago,
Mm-hmm.
went on his Instagram
He
and
was on
made
IG
pretty much
Live
the
with
same
Marcus
statement.
Spears.
He said, look, I appreciate all of the energy. He said, I'm in Minnesota, I'm not going nowhere. And I want y'all to keep that energy in November. And a lot of people have been saying that they don't care about voting and they don't see voting as important. But we talked about it.
Yeah.
Communities are built on the people who live in that community making the changes, right? So
Every
if
person who violated is an elected official. The president who has violated since he's been in office.
oh fuck
Really,
him,
no idea how he got in there. Other than the fact that not enough of us voted because y'all thought it was lesser of two evils voting for Hillary Clinton. But we won't jump down that rabbit hole.
well,
You have a
right? We don't
chance to
even need to go
vote.
down that hole
Yeah,
because
you have a chance to vote
there's
in November.
here's the thing. There's a lot of other reasons why he was able to win
Yeah.
between gerrymandering, redistricting, a whole lot of things, right? So like that, all of that stuff is
Right. But like I said, you
ancillary
got
to the
police
point that
chiefs, you got
yeah,
mayors, you got governors, you've got district attorneys, you have
you got your
all
community
these,
board,
yeah,
bro. You know what I mean? You got your
everything,
community board,
aldermen,
and
all that stuff. You literally can affect your infrastructure
yeah,
from the ground up. And that's how it has to happen. The president is a figurehead. He is not much more than that. He can stand for more than that. But if you have the right president in office and still have 48 shitty governors, it's not going to work. It takes the entire system to change. So that's why we need y'all to vote, not just every 4 years. It has to be within your local election. Or if you're somebody like I absentee ballot, if you're somebody that does absentee, then you have to be up on as much information as you possibly can because those votes matter. Your governor, your mayor, your DA, your police chief, all of your civic servants that your tax dollars pay for. I don't know how you would feel if you pay income taxes, you pay federal taxes every year, depending on the job that you have.
right.
Do you feel good right now as a taxpayer in Minnesota? Do you feel
Mm,
good right now as a taxpayer really anywhere in America as a Black person? If the
right.
answer to that question is no, and probably should be no, then that means we got more work to do. And yeah, other people, we need y'all to help too, but like let's focus on us because they're not
Right.
trying to help us. So to all my brothers and sisters that's out there that's on the front line, just please be safe. Whatever you're doing, please be safe. We don't need to lose soldiers. We don't need to lose any soldiers. Be safe. Like, you know, you attacking a private business, someone's gonna protect that business with their life. So I can't tell you how to hurt. All I can do is say that we need you, and you know, we love you. Like, every black person that dies, that's one less black person that we have to fight. That's one less vote that we have in the ballot box. So we need all of y'all to be able to also do this thing in a way that's going to affect things in the future, because just like people like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Rosa Parks and all them knew back in the day, the change is probably a change that we might not see. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with knowing that even if I don't see this change, let's make sure that it gets going.
Exactly. Or put as much energy as you possibly can until you see that change, right? Like at this point, it's just about flipping the script and laying the groundwork. I mean, the energy is there, and I'm so proud of the people that are out there, man. I can't tell you how proud I am of the people who have decided to, you know, from the celebrities who've shown up to the everyday people, you know, young and old, the people that have shown up. I'm just happy to see that people are not taking this thing lightly, in a lot of cases, and it need, like I said, this energy needs to be bottled up and needs to be used, you know, consecutively every month that we can use it, and spur that energy to actually make the changes that we want to see. Because, like you said, you know, you can vote for another president, but that person can't do as much as 50 million people can, right? When they really get together and unify around a central theme. Exactly. So, you know, I started this off by saying I'm madder today than I was yesterday. I'm a little bit more hopeful, you know, after this little chat, but, you know, I'm still mad, but I'm a little more hopeful.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all it is. You know, shout out to Barack Obama. Yeah, the audacity of hope, bro. That's all we can have right now at this point.
You wrote a good piece too today. Wrote a really good, a really good article today.
Yeah, so we got to check. Definitely got to check that out. But, you know, like we said before, I mean, for anybody that's listening, especially our brothers and sisters that's out there listening, like, we see you, and we support you. We right there with you. The No Rules family, the No Rules extended family, everybody that we've brought onto this podcast is an ally. Everybody that we have in our community, all of our you know, HBCU people, all of our Black people around the country. And in other countries, I think London was having protests today as well.
Bro,
I think there's
Iran,
a Black man everywhere.
London,
man.
I mean London, Dublin, Ireland. I mean everywhere, man.
You know, there's still young people dying on the front lines. You know, there was a young Black kid that was kidnapped by the police. That I don't know if he's been even returned yet. That, you know, he hadn't been able to talk to his family. He's 16 years old or something like that. Hadn't talked to his family all weekend. So, you know, there's still things to be fought for. There's still battles to be won. So don't let this ember burn hot and fast and then just dissipate. Let's keep this fight coming, because ain't no end in sight. We're not going to stop fighting in the way that we are fighting. If, you know, whatever it is that y'all are out there, whatever y'all deem to be the right way to fight, y'all do that, but do it safely. Just don't stop fighting, because that's what it's going to take. We can't give this one up. We got to keep on going all the way through November and then on again, because there's another election coming up in 2022 that's just as important as this one that's coming up in 2020. So let's keep that momentum going. Again, brothers and sisters, we love you. We're with you, and we got your back. And just, you know, continue to fight that fight.
Enough said, man. I love all of my people, and I pray that everybody be, you know, safe and be well, and take some time to meditate, because I know for me it's been tough. It's been tough to keep a sound mind, but, you know, we gotta rest our brains too, because it's just a lot to take in. So y'all be easy out there, man, for real.
Yeah, for sure. From all of us on No Rules Podcast, we appreciate y'all for supporting us, and we just want to return that energy as often and as much as we possibly can. So thank y'all for rocking with us here on the No Rules Podcast.
Peace.